The scene is set in Europe. In the skies of Berlin, a helicopter moves through the night sky. The sun barely under the horizon, the sky a dim red, as John Stanhope is being delivered to his superiors within the high command of the Ventru. It has been 2 weeks since John has arrived in Berlin. He sent his request a few weeks earlier to speak with someone of importance to the clan. He had to report on the goings-on in New Sarum, and he was afraid. Very few things in John's unlife has made him truly afraid, but this is one of them. It was a gamble, an exceedingly deadly one. He had to request aid from a council and collective of elders whose minds operated in such vast intricacies of years and centuries. Plus the fact that John was very much aware he was a nobody, a young upstart from the new world of all things. His bloodline was respected, but that of a skilled artisan or servant, not a ruler. And to come requesting anything from these ancient beings was dangerous. John would have had more success requesting from his own line within London. Lady Anne would probably be more receptive to his requests during their shared bloodline. But seeing as it was only a scant year since his own sire mysteriously disappeared from court, was too dangerous for John to take. He had to hope that the Berlin Ventru were kept apart from their British counterparts. The line of Hartstadt and his elders were powerful indeed, but also demanding. Blood sweat sheened on his forehead as he sat hunched in the helicopter, the whirring of the engine deafening him, trying to remind himself to close off his senses, although his inner beast was riling against him, wanting him to jump out of the vehicle immediately and flee back to his own country. Soon, the helipad lights appeared, and the automated vehicle touched down. John got out of the metallic contraption with a deft hop. There was no use using his usual facade of not being able to walk within these walls. The elders would know, practiced as they were, with all manner of deceit, and to start on such a bad foot would be a grave error. He was met by some of the attendants and brought through to a rather remote building, a noble manor, deep within the countryside of Germany. This is where his superior has decided to meet him. John didn't think for a second this was his commander's true haven, simply a place in which to meet the upstart Ventru. He was led into an opulent palace of typical Renaissance design. Artwork and shows of wealth lined every corner, in stylish ways, not like a toreador's fancy foppery or excess. This was all meant for a purpose. The ghoul showed him towards a rather dim looking boardroom, very plain and functional. John didn't take a seat. He remained standing, its stark attention leaning on his cane, not more for the comfort of it than a true support. He willed himself for his hands to stop shaking as he waited for the elder to appear.
John's left waiting in the room a decidedly protracted length of time. Eventually the door opens at the far end of the boardroom, and a rather rotund looking gentleman with steely blue eyes and a sharp suit enters the room. He eyes John Stanhope up and down, taking the full measure of the man. This youngster who has so requested his time. William Eisenberg has his own reasons for permitting this meeting. Whether they are revealed, discussions will let known. He heads towards Mr. Stanhope and offers a hand.
John attempts not to jump at the sign of informality, expecting a much more formal acquaintance. He almost immediately goes down on his knees, but restrains himself. He holds out a hand and a respectful nod as he deeply bows.
William watches every move Stanhope makes, possibly picking up the slight tremor in his muscles as the hand is extended. The shake is brief, and William offers a question more than anything else. John Stanhope. You have my attention.
Mr. Eisenberg, he says, licking his lips. Thank you very much for seeing me under short notice. It is truly an honor to meet you in person.
Shall we sit?
Taking it as a command rather than a question, John moves towards his chair and waits for his superior to sit before himself.
William Eisenberg moves around the table, carefully moves the seat back before sitting himself down. He then rests into the chair, straight backed, eyes fixed on Stanhope the whole time.
Composing himself, John will quickly roll his charisma and etiquette to steel himself ready for the meeting. One, two, three. Okay. So getting rid of the stammer in his voice, he speaks clearly. It is with great sadness, Mr. Eisenberg, that I have come to you today. The city in which I hail, New Sarum, was the domain of the Orchid line of the Ventru for a long time, although kept in custodian to Abraham Wolfe of Clan Malkavian. I am not sure how aware you are of the current political status within the New World, but events there have led me to your door, and I seek advice and to warn the leaders of the Camarilla of events that may prove detrimental to our position within the Americas.
You feel the happenings of one city will affect the standing of the Camarilla as a whole. What groundbreaking news do you bring from New Sarum?
The Sabbat Priscus Apollo of Corinth is within the city's domain.
Does the city itself not have a structure? Are there not members of the Camarilla there that can deal with these things?
It is with great sadness that I have to report on the sad state of our city. After the traitor Abraham Wolfe declared the city a barony, the loyal members of the Camarilla deposed him. It was then put upon our clan of the line of Orchid to hold the city. Although with the demise of Her Most Gracious Majesty Clarity Orchid, her line has failed the city. Her child, Iris Breckenridge, abandoned her post and joined with the Anarchs. The Giovanni and the Anarchs have taken swaths of the Camarilla. The latest appointed prince, Lysander Eudocia, elder of Clan Bruja, has fled the city. The court is in shambles, and the Camarilla presence is minimal. They allow this Sabbat Priscus to run unopposed.
I had heard of Lady Orchid's demise. I had known of her. This other business, the Ventru Anarch, I assume this has been dealt with.
Miss Breckenridge has attempted to fake her own death and fled the city. I have put it upon the Ventru channels to declare Miss Breckenridge anarchist to our clan. But she is no longer within the purview of my domain.
And those that are in your domain, how fares our clan?
Our clan is fractured. Although the loyal Camarilla beg for order and structure and look to the Ventru as they always do, it is our responsibility to maintain the Ivory Tower within this domain, and it is my intention to claim praxis to re-establish the rightful sect within the city.
Can I assume from your calling of this meeting, you don't feel you have the power to do this on your own? Do you not have the backing of members of other clans in the Camarilla?
John winces at the obvious insight Mr. Eisenberg has seen. The Tremere support the Ventru's claim, although the Seneschal, a gangrel by the name of Cole, opposes the new order. I believe a show of force for the Camarilla will help strengthen the resolve. As we have too many enemies within the walls. The Giovanni, the Anarchs, the Sabbat, as well as rumours of a sleeping Malkavian beneath the city. Many of the younger members of our society are looking for answers, and I believe they are turning to the wrong solutions. A show of unity within the sect will do wonders to strengthen our position after so much blood has been spilt here.
This show of unity, how do you propose to make this happen? If you truly wish our clan to hold the domain, how do you propose we hold it after this show of unity? If you cannot find the backing yourself, who do you suggest sits on this ever-changing throne?
I have gained the status and respect of the city's populace. I believe I will be able to hold the throne and give it a new world order. What I lack is the backing of the Camarilla. To have the elders of our clan support my claim within praxis will be able to show the Ventru's strength in all things and allow the clans to regain the respect and legitimacy in which we need to secure a prominent future of stability. I do this in humble supplication, and the city will be forever within Clan Ventru's debt.
You speak of a new world order, Mr. Stanshope. I am, as you can imagine, of the old world, and much prefer the order that is perhaps been embedded in our culture. I'm aware of how things are different in the Americas, but how do you propose this new world order would take shape? Surely, if Ventru is to hold the domain, then we should do things in the old world order.
The backbone of the Camarilla has always been the traditions, the laws that have kept us alive and safe for millennia. What I propose is a structure, one that unites us, a creation of harpies and hounds to maintain order, to no longer allow this constant musical chairs of the princedom, and to regain the economic strength of the city, so we may supply our confederates within other cities with industrial power, to be a more effective cog in the machine of the Camarilla.
You speak of economic strength, Mr. Stanshope, and yet you mention that you have Giovanni within the walls that you wish to extradite, perhaps. I assume you have heard of Pentex.
John's brow furrows briefly. Pentex is a subsidiary and a very minor power in the business field. He simply does not respond, waiting and hoping that his elder will elaborate further.
These Giovanni you're so keen to rid the city of, you should not be easily making enemies of the Giovanni. You should be making millions from the Giovanni. Keep them at arm's length, yes, and do not let them have control of your city, but do not make enemies of them. Their wealth is great, not a patch on ours, but you always have to keep your competitors close. As for putting in a structure of hounds and harpies, tell me, have all the princes that have come before not had structure?
It is my great sorrow to admit no. The reign of the Orchid children was that of chaos. They maintained their domains and attempted an ironclad control. But what they gained was nothing but supplication to those that fought them, giving in time and again to those that repelled from their reign. An iron hand is needed, and with the latest reign of Lysander Eudocia, who never even held a single Elysium without my guidance, has allowed chaos and the breakings of the traditions to happen within his own domain, and no sheriff appointed to deal with said crimes. If this carries on any longer, I fear for the integrity of our city, and that we will be nothing more than another anarch-free state, if not in name, then certainly in practice.
The New World seems to be quite heavily populated with these free states. You speak of several problems facing the city. What do you feel yourself is the most pressing issue?
The state of the Camarilla is the most pressing issue. For when an organized court is maintained as per our traditions, safeguards and plans are put in place to deal with all problems. This Sabbat infiltrator, these anarchs, this lack of control is dealt with once a strong structure is put into place. It is my intention to focus the Camarilla in our greatest strength, which is the mortal populace. With the mortal populace, its media, its influences firmly under our control, we can do what our primary objective is, the keeping of the masquerade.
Very well, Mr. Stanhope. You have made your point. Now, what exactly would you have me do? Do you just wish my consent? Or do you perhaps wish me to send someone to keep an eye on you, to oversee things?
Whatever you feel is the most effective tactic of this situation, I will follow. You have decades, if not centuries, more experience than I do, my elder.
Indeed, Mr. Stanhope.
But I understand. We are Ventru, and we do not fail. With your consent, I will make sure to make the clan proud.
Mr. Eisenberg sort of ponders for a time. Around 5-10 minutes pass before he speaks again. John possibly getting more nervous as the time passes in silence. There's no breath, obviously, to even break the silence. It's perfectly still. For you to implement a structure, how long do you think you will need to get the foundations, the basics in place?
The first act I will do is create a coterie, a knightly order, composed of combat-capable kindred to act as the hand of the Camarilla, to be able to strike out against our enemies and strike fear into our dissenters. Once that is put into place, then information is key. A coterie of harpies to make sure that everything that goes on within and without of court is filtered into the court's ears. From there, it is a matter of organizing the clans into a more formalized structure, put into place influence systems via boons and taxation to give the court economic strength and influence over the mortal populace. From there, control is a simple matter of maintaining the status quo.
Yes, Mr. Stanhope, I am aware of all of that. As I said, how long do you think you will need to get the foundations of your proposal in place?
John thinks for a moment. He goes over the various kindred in New Serum, the very precious few he would trust with such a task, as well as any who will be combat capable enough to deal with the actual threats that deal with New Serum. He considers. He cannot say too long, otherwise he appears too incompetent, but cannot say too short a time and fail. Going for broke, he'll simply go for somewhere that he thinks might be manageable. It will be tough, but with the Ventrue breathing down his neck, he'll have no choice but to complete it. A month, he says firmly.
Mr. Eisenberg ponders. 1 month. Very well. I was saddened to hear of the loss of Lady Orchid. I had met her a couple of times. I can't claim she was dear to my heart, but I will give you a month from today exactly. When a month is up, an emissary will arrive in New Serum, compile a status report, and return back to myself. The findings of this report will depend on whether we decide to put any stock behind you, Mr. Stanshope. As you said earlier, we are Ventrue and we do not fail. You have a month.
John bows very deeply, almost so his head nearly touches the floor. I am honoured by your trust within me. I will not fail.
Mr. Eisenberg checks his watch. In 30 days from now, at this time, 9:20, expect my emissary. Mr. Eisenberg gets up from the table, heads down to the far end and exits through the smaller doors at the far end of the room, leaving John alone.
John stays bowed, his head upon the floor, staring straight, stretching his senses out for Auspex, waiting for the doors to close until he can no longer hear the Stratori's footsteps echoing down the halls, and only then does he give himself permission to relax. It could have gotten worse. A month to sort out a city where people twice my age have failed. He had no time to waste. He stands up and takes out his phone, calls for a direct flight back to New Serum. If he can sort it out, if he can at least get the foundations going within a month, the city might be safe. The Ventrue are generous, especially when they are pleased. He only has a few problems, one of which is his rival for the Praxis coal. John has not the time to make a lengthy debate. Although he knows he could probably win the Praxis from coal, he does not have the time to mount a full campaign. Maybe compromises will have to be set. But he will see the city grow again. Or he will find himself within the bowels of this very building, a place where failed Ventrue always end up. End of the scene.